All right, good morning, traders. We are live. I got some interesting things to show you, and I'm excited. And at the same time, I have zero clue where this market's going to go today. And that's not a common theme for me. Usually, even in the crap, I have a sense of where it's going to go. It doesn't mean I win a trade. It just means I have a bias. I have a feeling that it's going to go for sell side or it's going to go for buy side liquidity. And today, I don't. But before we got, 3 minutes until open. Real quick, I want to show you what I've observed. And one of the things that's sometimes helpful, I find, is to look for localized price action patterns. And by that, I mean, we have general, like, long-term price action patterns that we can observe. And it's just things that we know, such as if London low is swept, then there's a 62% chance that London high is going to be taken next, kind of thing. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to look at the last 2 weeks of trading and really find out what the open was doing, because I feel like I've been noticing some patterns of the open. I feel like 9:30 just kind of screws with you, and then something happens a little later on in the session. And that's kind of what I proved when I looked back at the last 2 weeks of trading. And so the real thing I want you to observe is at 9:30, there's a 64% chance in the last 2 weeks that you're going to get some kind of super deep retrace. And with this, I keep getting stopped out, even though I'm right. And that's one of the reasons. And the other thing I want to show you is it better to trade 9:30 or trade 9:45? And between the two, there's a 36% chance that you should take the trade at 9:30 versus a 57% chance, or how to say, 36% of the time, 9:30 presented the setup that you want to take, whereas 57% of the time, 9:45 presented the setup that you should take. I should take, whatever. And so what this information is telling me is a couple of things. It means I need to be much more cautious at 9:30 and be more patient for the 9:50 macro or even upwards of 10:20 macro trade. And also, if I'm going to take the 9:30 trade, I need to run a much larger stop loss and just kind of adapt my system. It's not normally the case that I need to run a stop loss that wide. But the pattern's been going on long enough now that I feel like it's a small tweak I can make to my system to adapt to the current environment. So we have 1 minute till open. We do have this low that's been swept here. There's SMT here at this low. It's a 1 hour low. It's a 4 hour low. I really don't like any of the liquidity I see up here. There's not really anything that looks overly engineered. Really most of my targets are towards buy side. But while the targets are towards buy side, that's not the story that I'm fully getting. All right, so here's 9:30. So like here's an example of where I would run a super wide stop loss, much wider than normal. But here, what we're looking at looks to be like, wow, what is going on? Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah. Like, what do you do with that? A 500 tick 1 minute candle? What do you do with that? Swept sell side, swept buy side. It's going to close and form basically like a breaker. Some wild volatility. So I do kind of like this breaker here. It's already swept a ton of liquidity up here. I don't really have equal highs as a target. I have London high, which is just a singular swing. I guess there's a pair of equal 1 minute highs right there. And I'm probably not going to get a chance to get in this trade. I'm not going to lie, I don't see it. I still don't see it. Like I have targets towards buy side, but I think this thing's going to sink. And so that's where I'm just sitting on my hands, and it's not easy. All right, so there we go. I'm glad I didn't engage with that potential breaker, although it never confirmed the breaker, so I guess I would have wouldn't have had an entry. But look at these, this super whipsaw price action. On my 15-minute chart, the way I have it drawn is I wanted to see price either sweep London high or this low down in here before engaging. And we've swept that low. But didn't really leave any liquidity. I feel like it wants to sell off. We do kind of have these equal highs, but it's just so minor. 2 1-minute highs isn't like the strongest signal. I'll note it, but it's not like super strong. All right, so swept previous day low. Which is a good level. We have this swing, we have this previous day low. It's looking heavy though. All right, so here's first presented fair value gap. Don't need to double draw it. All right. So I'm just doing a lot of analysis right now. Usually I'm chilling. I know what I want to see and I just kind of wait for it. And today is a little different. Today I'm kind of waiting for price action to unfold and tell a story that I can make sense of. And it's just, I'm struggling with that right now. Like I could see it being long. We swept the previous day low. We swept this sell side down in here. There's SMT. There's targets above on the 15 minute. Here on the 1 minute, I'm not really seeing much. I guess there's a 930 data wick right there. That's a high probability target. We do have some equal highs right there. I think my kid just fell out of bed. Heard the whole floor shake. All right, so let's see what this does. This 1 minute candle did not close above this gap right here, but that's not the full inversion. The inversion should include this little volume imbalance right in there. And I'm weighing on taking this long. Running a much bigger stop loss than normal. If so, usually my stop loss would be right here. And I'm going to run it with some distance below this swing low right there if I decide to get engaged with this. We do have this 930 swing right there. We don't have a 2-minute. We don't have a 3-minute. So I don't have any data on that to suggest if a 1-minute inversion is less probable when there's no 2-minute or 3-minute inversion present. And that would be a really good experiment, actually, or a good thing to collect some data on. YM's tapped into the midnight open. ES is tapped back into the midnight open. And NQ has just been consolidating around the midnight open. What do we do? So don't really like how slow it is right here. You know, if this had popped up, retraced back down, you know, maybe there's a 15-second gap it tapped into, and then from there made a nice strong push up in here. That would have been nice. I guess here we do have a little 30-second inversion. That probably would have been a nice trade right there. Let's see what this candle does here. All right, closed above the inversion, didn't close above the inversion, including the suspension block. We have a new 15-minute candle opening up right now. At the moment, I'm just starting to distrust this a little bit more. The more candles we start printing in here, the less likely this inversion is to be a high probability setup. Time-wise, it's 9:45 approximately, so would expect the move to occur within the next half hour, approximately, if it's going to move. There's been a few days in the last couple of weeks where price hasn't really moved in the AM session. I kind of like, excuse me. I like that it's trading down. We have 12 minutes left on this 1 hour candle and the 4 hour candle. Let's see what they're doing. I'm still getting conflicting reads on the charts. I feel like the 1 hour and the 4 hour are telling me, or the daily and the weekly are telling me it wants to go down. The 1 hour and the 4 hour are consolidating. They're giving me mixed signals. I could see it both ways on the 1 and the 4, and then on the 15 minute, I'm seeing it a little more bullish. On at least NQ. So here's these deep retraces. Like maybe it's, if this does confirm by closing above this inversion, these are the deep retraces that I was talking about. Like, and this is where I was planning on entering, was this size of a stop loss below the previous day low roughly. So, and maybe it doesn't even confirm above here, but that's just trying to visualize and visually show you what I've been seeing a lot lately. So ES is just consolidating. YM is just chilling after it's sold off. Still looking for more targets to the downside. We're in a 15-minute fair value gap currently. Looking pretty heavy. So for me in shorts, I didn't even have an entry model. There was nothing here for me. Just sitting on my hands. You know, this was I didn't see this 30 second. This 30 second was a potential partial W. But like I said, I think it wants to sell off more than anything. Got these two lows here on the 15-minute chart. Swept this low, this fair value gap right in here. Now the 15-minute is starting to build up some trend line liquidity. We pushed through the new week opening gap. You know, to me, this looks like accumulation, manipulation, and potential distribution. So I see it that way. But if you look at ES, it looks the opposite. Accumulation, manipulation, and can you see that? Distribution towards the downside. Same thing with YM. So to me, these are not correlating in a way that makes sense. I also don't really have any levels for longs. There's this 15-minute gap, but I don't want to see a major manipulation into a 15-minute gap. I want to see a major manipulation into like a 1 hour, 4 hour fair value gap. Just want to hide that. There's a 1 hour volume imbalance. Here's these lows. And really, it's just kind of like these relative equal lows down in here, which part of me would love that just to get out of this range that we've been in from here to here. And it's not often I draw trend lines, but when I do, they mean something. And so here we have a couple relative equal lows. Here we have a couple relative equal lows, and these were part of what was bugging me out. I'll mark them here. So that's irrelevant. We didn't see a response there. There was a 30-second inversion. Right there. That's okay. Not every day do you get an entry or a model, depending on what's happening. Mm. I still think we're going for more sell side. Now, interestingly, look at the trend lines, right? They're actually working. And this is one of the instances where I don't use trend lines for levels, but I just pay attention to it. Like there could be a reversal here. It could want to continue making these lows right in here. It could want to respond, move up here, and then take it later and go down. I can't use this as a level to trade. But it just helps me kind of see things. There's all these lows on the 1 hour. I'll mark them. All right. So for me, what I do sometimes, like I can't see it. And so if that's the case, I don't need to sit here and force anything. I'll walk away from the charts. I'm okay with not treating this session, and maybe I'll take a look at lunchtime or PM and they'll present the setup. I just don't see it. I mean, I see it's bearish, but we're kind of in territory where I can take longs, but I think longs are off sides, and there's actually no levels that I want to use for longs anyways. And so I'm guessing that it's more likely we're in the distribution phase for the morning, in which case it's just going to keep going down. And I don't typically get continuation setups. I typically catch the reversal itself. And so, yeah, I don't think it's going to behoove me to sit here in these market conditions and waste my brain cells. So, yeah, I'm good with walking away, no trades. And did I miss anything? Maybe. Let's think here. Definitely mixed bias, so I don't know how stoked I would have been at that 30-second short. I think if price had swept these highs up in here, I would have been much more stoked for a short. So for me, maybe that wasn't an option. There was a 30-second long, and I'm not going to lie. If I would have seen it, I probably would have taken it. And I would have been off sides, but I would have gotten a partial. So that for the moment is no trades. So there was a, we'll call it a 932, 30-second short, no C, likely no take. Then we had a we call it 36, 30-second long, partial, no C, likely would have taken it. But ultimately, 10:04, walked off, walked away. Unclear. Price likely to sell off. And yeah, that's cool. I'm okay with that. So yeah, I'll catch you.